A leaning tower, a former great capital, water towns, and a Republican mausoleum. All of these things are neatly packed into this one Chinese province that used to be at the heart of the Chinese civilization, Jiangsu. Hi, my name is Sebastian and you're watching 7 Facts. So Jiangsu is not a very big province, in fact it's almost exactly the size of Iceland. But while Iceland has a population of less than 400,000, Jiangsu is a tad more populous. And when I say a tad, I mean ludicrously more. 84.7 million people are crammed into what is one of China's most developed and prosperous provinces. And you can understand why. Jiangsu has one of the largest economies in the world, with plenty of job opportunities. By Chinese standards, it's also one of the wealthiest, having been the first province to reach a GDP per capita of over $20,000. But life isn't just about money, and Jiangsu certainly has a lot more to it than that. Like the fact that it holds the former capital of China, the city of Nanjing. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we have to dig into the history of this place. In the very beginning, the area that is now Jiangsu was far from the Central Plains, the center of what was to become the Chinese civilization. In fact, this place was inhabited by different cultures altogether, people like the Huayi or the Hushu. However, once the first Chinese dynasty started to appear, Jiangsu was gradually engulfed by these states. The state of Wu eventually emerged, and for a while, it was a contestant for the position of overlord over the other states. This was in the 5th century BC, and afterwards, Wu was defeated by Yue, who in turn lost to Chu, who was swept away by the Qin. This wasn't the end though, as the state of Wu would again reappear with its capital in Jianye, modern-day Nanjing. The borders, kingdoms, and dynasties changed many times, so I won't go into any more details. But throughout the centuries, the area of Jiangsu began to emerge as a major economic center. In fact, by the 6th century AD, Jianye, now known as Jiangkang, had become the largest commercial and cultural center of China. And with the construction of the Grand Canal that linked the Yangtze Delta to the Central Plain, Jiangsu continued to grow. Cities like Suzhou or Yangzhou would become synonymous with opulence, luxury, and culture. Centuries before the Industrial Revolution in Europe, Jiangsu even displayed the signs of early industrialization, market economy, and capitalism, but due to, well, many reasons, it never developed into something fruitful like in Europe. During the 19th century, there were some, less friendly incursions of the West into China, but as a result, their influence led to the economic explosion of certain areas. Shanghai, for instance, was originally an unremarkable fishing town of Jiangsu, but after it opened up to European ships, it grew so much, so fast, that it eventually split out as an independent city. Others wanted Jiangsu too. The Taiping Rebellion was the bloodiest civil war in history that attempted to set up a Christian theocracy in China. They conquered and established Nanjing as their capital. And so did the Republic of China after the end of the Qing dynasty. When Japan attacked China in the Second Sino-Japanese War, Nanjing fell into the hands of the Japanese. What followed is today known as the Nanjing Massacre. We'll talk about that in a minute. From 1937 to 1945, Jiangsu remained occupied and Nanjing was the capital of the collaborationist government of East China, Japan's puppet state. Once World War II ended, the Chinese Civil War resumed and was won by the Communists, who demoted Nanjing to a provincial capital, instead choosing Beijing as their new capital city. With a population of nearly 10 million, Nanjing is the capital city of Jiangsu and one of China's famous megacities. For thousands of years, Nanjing has served as the capital of various Chinese dynasties, kingdoms, and republican governments, and is recognized as one of the 4 ancient capitals of China. Throughout our era, this city was also one of the largest on the planet, more than once. So just to be clear, this city isn't important just for China. It's also a significant part of the human civilization as a whole. And it continues to play a vital role to this day. Companies like Siemens, Volkswagen, IBM, Samsung, Huawei, or Lenovo are just a fraction of the big names present in Nanjing. But Nanjing is also a city of culture. there are literally hundreds of cultural centers, museums, theaters, art galleries, and academies showcasing the best Chinese culture has to offer. Nanjing's old town, known as the Walled City, is an absolute architectural jewel that shouldn't be missed by any visitor. I know that everyone talks about Beijing, Hong Kong, or Shanghai, and China's former capital has kind of fallen behind in the world's consciousness. But I'm telling you right now, there is absolutely no reason why you should ignore Nanjing. One of Europe's most famous landmarks is the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. You know, this thing. But did you know that China has its own version of the damn thing? It's called the Tiger Hill Pagoda and, you guessed it, it's leaning. Officially called the Yunnan Pagoda, it was originally built in 907 AD, so it's older than its Italian counterpart. And in well over 1,000 years of existence, the structure slanted quite a lot. Between the top and the bottom, there is now a difference of 2.3 meters, and the tower has a 3.5-degree lean, so slightly smaller than the one in Pisa. The reason? Well, half of its foundation lies on bedrock, the other half doesn't. While the foundation has been stabilized and the pagoda isn't about to fall anytime soon, visiting the upper sections is no longer allowed. By the way, you'll find it in Suzhou City. If you've been paying attention in the other episodes, you might have noticed that China's history is filled to the brim with emperors. And then, after thousands of years, all of a sudden the dynastic lines stop. The whys and hows of that happening are complicated to say the least, but a part of what followed lies in Jiangsu, literally. The first president of the Republic of China was Sun Yat-sen. He came into power on January 1st, 1912 and resigned 2 months later. The man was instrumental in the overthrow of the Qing dynasty and the foundation of the Republic, so he was, and still is, a big deal. In fact, Sun is considered to be the father of the nation in Taiwan and the forerunner of the revolution in mainland China. He died in 1925 of cancer and was laid to rest in Nanjing, where the authorities then built him a large mausoleum, which ironically is in line with the old dynastic traditions. Sun Yat-sen indeed played a key role in the creation of a Chinese republic, so visiting his mausoleum can indeed feel like you're witnessing a piece of history. Throughout China, you can find so-called water towns. These are historic towns filled with canals, rivers, and bridges, and some of the most famous ones can be found in Jiangsu. Possibly the most attractive of them all is Zhouzhuang, a charming little town with remarkably well-preserved ancient houses and bridges. This place has become a top tourist destination in China, and well, you can kinda see why. In fact, the Chinese consider this place to be the true Venice of the East. The town is surrounded by lakes and rivers, crisscrossed by 14 bridges, but the best way to get around this town is not by foot of course, but by a gondola. While entrance into Zhouzhuang is not free, it does seem like it's worth every penny. Okay, it's time to talk about that horrible episode in Jiangsu's history I mentioned earlier, the Nanjing Massacre. This was one of the worst events that occurred during World War II, and it's certainly in the top most atrocious acts of violence in history. The massacre began on December 13, 1937, immediately after Nanjing, the then capital of China, was occupied by Japanese imperial forces. And I do mean immediately. On the day Japanese troops entered Nanjing, the massacre began. Basically, the soldiers were left entirely unchecked, with commanding officers doing nothing to stop them. They killed all POWs they caught, looted everything, set buildings on fire, mass raped and mutilated women, tortured and killed civilians of all age, buried people alive, and even organized a contest to kill 100 people by sword. The details and photos of the massacre are much too gruesome to expose here. For 6 weeks, the population of Nanjing was terrorized this way, leaving no less than 200,000 people dead, although that number could be as high as 300,000. In the people's consciousness, this event came to be known as the Rape of Nanjing. And that was all for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave. Leave your comments downstairs, and if you wish to do so, you can help out this channel through my Patreon page. I do hope to see you next time. Bye.